Nisambula, hello, namaste. My name is Prem Narayan. I'm a solicitor by profession. I have my own law office under my own name. I am past the retirement age, a single woman of Indian ethnicity, and I was born in Suva, raised in Suva. I come from a joint family. I live with my grandparents. I was the eldest of my siblings. I have three brothers and one sister. So there's five of us. My mother really taught us, and she's my inspiration. My dad did the financial bit of providing for the family, and of course, grandparents are there to look after the kids, spend time, and make all the funny things that we actually do in life. I went to school at Samambula Primary School, a suburban school in Samambula, which is multicultural in the sense that at that time in the 1970s, we had ethnicities of Indian and Itoke in the school. My dad had a very great vision. He put us in a suburban primary school and he sent us all to a Catholic school. I went to St. Joseph after primary, which was a bigger pond for a small frog. It was a bigger multiculturalism because we had ethnicities of Indian, Itoke, Chinese, part Europeans and Europeans, and mixed ethnicities. And then on top of that, I come from a different religion background. He put us into a Catholic school, so we got to read the Bible, got to know how the Christianity religion work, and it was a good thing because we actually got exposed to understanding and interacting with people who didn't have the same beliefs, he didn't have the same religion, and didn't have the same food. From there, he took us out of the country. I went to school at Auckland Girls Grammar, and from there I went to Auckland University. Had a break and went back to Wellington to complete my law degree. I worked, came back to Fiji, got admitted on the 4th of July together with Miss Chen. Miss Chen and I celebrate our 29 years of admission to the Fijian bar on the 4th of July, together with Americans' Independence Day. Women in business, from my own experience, I set my office in 2002. Prior to that, I was working in a law firm called Sharani and Company. I left in 2001 and then did some freelance for legal aid. Um, Set up this office in 2002, and from there onwards, I've been in this office to date, and probably continue for a couple more years or 10 more, 15 more years. Now, setting up the business was quite hard. I didn't have any lawyers in my family to say this is what I needed. Had I known, I would have been much more prepared as to what I actually needed. I would have been more advanced technologically because at that time when I in 2002, technology in the legal fraternity was not that great. We still had to, when I came back from New Zealand and did research, I literally had to go through the each cases for the year to see what particular case would be applicable in this case. So when I set up that office, I decided, okay, let me start by compiling folders for each particular area of law. Now, setting up the business was maybe not so difficult at that time because there were not that many law firms around as there is now. But it was still difficult because you may have had the family support, you may have the financial support. I was lucky enough that I had family support. My brother discovered, he was working at FNPF and he discovered that this place was empty, and I applied for tenancy and I got the tenancy. So I was very lucky there, and I've been stuck here for since then. And I had the clients were the hard part because you had to go and market yourself, and you're not allowed to market yourself in Fiji as lawyers. You're not supposed to say, oh, here's my card, you got something, I can do this or that. You have to get the clients to come to you. So that was but I had good people around me. They sent clients to me. Some were good clients, some were not so good, some were very good. And at the end of the day, I always believe that God or the universe has created us, and we have a stomach, and the universe somehow will feed us. And that's been my strong belief, and I've been very lucky, touch wood. um, Money did come in, and I was able to survive and set up the office since 2002. I had a good cousin of mine who was prepared to work almost for free for me because I didn't have any money. And she worked for me for a considerable period of time, for a short period of time without money. But after that, I was able to pay for her. It was difficult in the sense that you had to go find money in terms of clients. You had to go and get the support system, which means that you don't actually go to a university or a tertiary institute and say, I need a legal clerk, or I need a person who can do this. You actually have to take somebody who had been maybe left school or had just started university and train that person. That was the difficult part of having to train somebody to become your legal clerk the way you want that person to be. And from there onwards, I had a number of people come in and go. Some stayed for a longer period, some stayed for a short period. But the whole thing is like, so long as you're compliant with your legal obligation to employees, so long as you're compliant with your legal obligations to the tax department, and then the more priority part is that you actually maintain a good relationship with clients or would be clients or with anybody who assists you in your business. In the legal fraternity, we have more women than men, but we have more women at the lower end of the profession, meaning they are lawyers. We don't actually have women CEOs or women. They are manager legals out there in the profession, but we don't actually have them taking a greater leadership opportunity. And one of the reasons that could be is maybe there is no support from the family, because I don't think the gender differentiation in the law fraternity is as great as in other professions in Fiji. Say, for example, engineering. In here, we actually have a number of female lawyers who've actually set up their own offices, have managed to sustain it, and are continuing to sustain it. For empowerment, the issue is when a person comes to your office for employment, say, for example, you have to get them on the right page. You have to see that if they're actually fitted for you or you are fitted for them, because each person works differently. So in terms of empowerment, you have to make sure that you actually provide them with the knowledge that they actually need to complete the work. You have to say, okay, I'm going to wipe the slate clean. This is the knowledge I want you to have. And then you start getting them to think. The most important part is not just giving them the work, but getting them to think why they're doing something, because empowerment comes from the ability to understand why. Without the why, you can't go forward. All you're doing is just ticking in the boxes, and we don't want that, because we don't want tomorrow's leaders to be just ticking in boxes. We want tomorrow's leaders to say, this is the reason, this is the under underlying foundation for something, and this is where I'm going to build up to the vision of where I want. So say, for example, if I wanted my lawyers, and especially my female lawyers, I'm lucky I've got 3 female lawyers working with me. So there's 4 female lawyers in this firm. We're a totally women lawyer institute. So if we were to say that, if we go out there and say, this is a vision, we want women to be empowered, to be able to hold positions and be able to lead. So for that, we need to give women that task of leading. And before we give them the task of leading, we actually have to make sure that they actually are prepared for it. So we need to train them, then give them the lead role, supervise them, discuss with them where their shortfalls are, and then give them the leadership and see where they lead, because each one of us have comes with different visions. women are underestimated in this country. The lady who is our mother, she looks after all of us. She feeds us, she clothes us, she prepares us for our school. She asks us when we come back from school what our homework was, make sure that we do it. I'm not saying that the fathers don't actually do that. The women really control much of how the children's grooming at the beginning of the early life is. They look after the kitchen. Even if there is very little food, they manage to feed all of us. So in the house, the mother is in control and she contributes tremendously, which is underpaid and not even acknowledged by any one of us, of the development of the leaders of tomorrow. Now, when we go to school, most of the teachers are female at the kindy level. Now, these women also contribute to the development of the child. They actually teach the child simple things about behavior to each other, um, the alphabets, the nursery rhymes, and everything that we remember of good times, it comes back to that childhood. Then we go to the primary school where we have more women as teachers and male teachers as well. And then we have all these other women when we go to religious institutes who are leading in the food preparation, providing for everybody. It's mostly women. It's not the male people who go to churches, the male people who go to the temples, who actually provide to make sure that everybody's eaten, the dishes are all clean, the temple is all cleaned up. It's mostly women who do that. So in the community level, women are already doing the work. The only thing they're lacking is acknowledgement. And we need to get them to a different level, to a paid level, so that they can actually then contribute financially to their household. The obstacles that I believe are that when you actually get to the higher level of the economic strata, so at the CEO level, at the board level, or even a little bit below at the management level, the obstacle starts there because um, women bear children. So when they take maternity leave and they have, sometimes it's advisable, and most women do, is they actually have 2 or 3 children all in a gap of 5 to 6 years. So they are on maternity leave for a number of period of time. Now that stops their development because when they come back from maternity leave, they don't actually get back to where they were. They actually are then competing with other people who've come in, advance themselves, and their commitment to the child sometimes takes them out of the workforce. Now, we don't actually have legislations out here, although we have maternity leave, but the employer bears that cost. It's not the government that bears the cost. What we need is that government actually bears the cost of having women to take time off work, look after their children for at least 1 to 2 years, and then come back to the workforce at the same position. But whilst they're out of the workforce, training is still provided to them so that when they come back to the workforce, they are at the level that other people are. That's one of the obstacles. The other obstacles that you have is because you're a female, people for some reason consider that you are weak and incapable of making decisions, that you are moody. Women are not moody. It's just that when they come to the room, they read the room and they say, hey, I don't think, I believe that these people actually have any faith in me. So when you don't have faith in any person, whether it be a male or a female, that person's not going to perform. So what happens is we need people to start believing that women are as good or if not better than their male counterpart. They are equal. They're not subservient. But you'll always find that whenever there's a group, the male will always take the leadership role, although the women do the work. And what we need to make sure is the employer or the government institute or whichever institute recognizes the work that's done by the person, individual person, rather than the team. Sometimes teamwork defeats ambitions of a woman. That's a very interesting question. My role model has been my mom. My mom has been the first woman I've really known of, and she's been a woman of substance in the sense that she looked after all five of us. She was very strict. She made us sit down and read books, and she questioned us on the books that we read. She made us write, and we used to have to copy the entire book sometimes on paper so that our writings could improve. And like most parents of my mom's generation, if you actually told your mom that your teacher had hit you, they were not going to go to the police and complain that your teacher had hit you. Teachers didn't hit unnecessarily unless you hadn't learned your lesson. They would go and hit you again. So if we actually got reprimanded at school, we never said that at home because we knew that we would get further growling at home. So, and my mom was the one who actually taught us, well, all of us, that it's important that we have respect for each other. It's important that we actually have money in our own account. We don't have to go to another person to ask for money. And here my dad's been also inspiration because my dad's in a bookshop, and he's been telling every customer of his, since I was small, we used to go and help him at the bookstore, and we were not allowed to have a calculator to calculate. We had to do it all in our head. So, and I was the weakest in the maths. So the other ones were better at maths. I became accountant. I became the lawyer. But as far as my dad inspired me in this respect, that he told his customers that you have to make sure you educate your girls to the best ability that you can, because your son can sleep at the bus station, your daughter cannot sleep at the bus station. And that was something that when I grew up and became a lawyer, I said, that was such a visionary thought. Your son can, I mean, it's not a good thing to get your son to sleep at a bus station, but at least you knew that nothing is going to really happen, like bad's going to happen. But when you're a girl and you have to sleep at a bus station, I mean, imagine, you could be sexually abused, you could be verbally abused, emotionally abused, and you've got no place to stay. And if you had education with you, and if you married to a person and that marriage didn't work out, you knew that you could stand on your feet and be able to get a job and look after yourself. You didn't have to depend. And why I raise it is, when I became a lawyer, divorce was fault based, which means that parties had to prove that somebody was at fault, and the fault was adultery. Nobody's going to tell you that I'm having an affair, come and take some photos, and you can then go to court. Also, nobody's going to come and say, oh, neighbor, come and see, I'm beating my wife, so you can give evidence. There was no real evidence for adultery or cruelty. So if somebody did get a divorce, maintenance at that time was like $10 something. It was really hard to get good maintenance. And the way we now have under the new legislation, you actually spell out all your expenses, the child's expenses, the food, the grocery. At that time, it wasn't done that way. And it's not because of lawyers didn't know, it just wasn't done that way. And even if you brought that information, people didn't earn that much money to be able to contribute. So if the woman is educated and financially able to support herself, it was very important that her parents had educated her to get her to that place. Dreams are, remember, you have to have a vision of where you want to be. And this is something we didn't have that information when we were young. But the children who are young now have this information, they have this knowledge. So they need to say, okay, where do I want to be in 20 years' time? So, say, for example, if I want to be a lawyer in 20 years' time, I would say, okay, what do I need to do to become a good lawyer? I could go and do research. Internet is free for everybody almost. You can get it at $25 a month or something. You can do your research. You can find out what you need. Your language is very important. Your ability to communicate is very important. So, say, for example, you can upskill yourself even before you go to law school, so that you have all these skills that you need. All you need then is to study and then study. So You can now do a lot of online studies as well. I would say to people, don't chase dreams. Have a vision. Set your foundation. What you're gonna do in year one, what you're gonna do in year five, what you're gonna do in year 10. Then you know you can work towards something. Otherwise, you can keep dreaming till the end comes, and you'll always be dreaming. I would say dreams may not be the correct word, it would be your vision. What do I want to become, and how do I see myself at that place? And you work towards that goal. No, I don't have any political aspiration, except I just wish the politicians who are out there have aspirations to cater for the community and look after the community interest rather than spending money the way it's been spent. The next 5 to 10 years, I hope it's in the Bahamas, retired.